Welcome back on Bambaleor channel. So please subscribe, like, share, and also comment your opinion about the video. So today's video is about Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid activist and a politician who served the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. He was the country's first black head of state and the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid by fostering racial reconciliation, ideologically an African nationalist and socialist. He served as the president of the African National Congress ANC party from 1991 to 1997. Rolihlahla Mandela was born into the Madiba clan in the village of Mvezo, in the Eastern Cape on 18th July 1918. His mother was Nonkafi Nosekeni and his father was Nkosi Mufakanyiswa Gadla Mandela, principal counselor to the acting king of the Thembu people, Jonjintaba Dalindyebo. In 1930, when he was 12 years old, his father died and the young Mandela became a ward of Jonjintaba at the Great Place in Mhekezweni. Hearing the leader's stories of his ancestors' valor during the wars of resistance, he dreamed also of making his own contribution to the freedom struggle of his people. He attended primary school in Kunu, where his teacher, Miss Mdingane, gave him the name Nelson, in accordance with the customs of giving all school children Christian names. He completed his junior certificate at Clarkbury Boarding Institute and went on to Hildtown, a Wesleyan secondary school of some repute, where he matriculated. Mandela began his studies for a Bachelor of Arts degree at the University College of Fort Hare, but did not complete the degree there as he was expelled for joining in a student protest. On his return to the Great Place at Mhekezweni, the king was furious and said if he didn't return to Fort Hare, he would arrange wives for him and his cousin Justice. They ran away to Johannesburg instead. Arriving there in 1941, there he worked as a mine security officer, and after meeting Walter Sisulu, an estate agent, he was introduced to Lesser Sidosky. He then did his articles through a firm of attorneys, Witkin, Eiderman, and Sidosky. He completed his BA through the University of South Africa and went back to Fort Hare for his graduation in 1943. Meanwhile, he began studying for an LLB at the University of the Witwatersrand. By his own admission, he was a poor student and left university in 1952 without graduating. He only started studying again through the University of London after his imprisonment in 1962, but also did not complete that degree. In 1989, while in the last months of his imprisonment, he obtained an LLB through the University of South Africa. Mandela, while increasingly politically involved from 1942, only joined the African National Congress in 1944, when he helped to form the ANC Youth League. In 1944, he married Walter Sisulu's cousin, Evelyn Mas, a nurse. They had two sons, Madimba, Tembekile, Thembi, and Makgato, and two daughters, both called Makaziwe, the first of whom died in infancy. He and his wife divorced in 1958. Mandela rose through the ranks of the ANCYL, and through its efforts, the NAC adopted a more radical mass-based policy program of action in 1949. In 1952, he was chosen as the National Volunteer-in-Chief of the Defiance campaign with Maulvu Kachelia as his deputy. The campaign of civil disobedience against 6 unjust laws was just programmed between the ANC and the South African Indian Congress. He and 19 others were charged under the Suppression of Communism Act for their part in the campaign and sentenced to 9 months of hard labor, suspended for 2 years. A 2-year diploma in law on top of his BA allowed Mandela to practice law, and in August 1952, he and Oliver Tambo established South Africa's first black-owned law firm in the 1950s. Mandela and Tembo. At the end of 1952, he was banned for the first time. As a restricted person, he was only permitted to watch in secret as the freedom character was adopted in Kliptown on 26 June 1955. Mandela was arrested in a countrywide police swoop on 5 December 1956, which led to the 1956 treason trio. Men and women of all races found themselves on the dock in the marathon trio that only ended when the last 28 accused, including Mandela, were acquitted on 29 March 1961. On 21 March 1960, police killed 69 unarmed people in a protest in Sharpeville against the past laws. This led the country's first state of emergency at the banning of the ANC and the Pan-Africanist Congress on 8th April. Mandela and his colleagues in the treason trio were among thousands detained during state of emergency. During the trio, Mandela married social worker Winnie Madikizire on 14th June 1958. They had 2 daughters. The couple divorced in 1996. Days before the end of the treason trio, Mandela traveled to Pietermaritzburg to speak at the All in Africa conference, which resolved that he should write the Prime Minister, requesting a national convention in a non-racial constitution, and to warn that should he not agree, there would be a national strike against South Africa becoming a republic. After he and his colleague were acquitted in the treason trio, Mandela went underground and began planning a national strike 29, 30, and 31st March. In the face of massive mobilization of the state security, the strike was called off early. In June 1961, he was asked to lead the armed struggle and helped to establish Umkhonto weSizwe, Spear of Nation, which launched on 16th December 1961 with a series of explosions. On 11th January 1962, using the adopted name David Motsamai, Mandela secretly left South Africa, traveled around Africa and visited England to gain support for the armed struggle. He received military training in Morocco and Ethiopia and returned to South Africa in July 1962. He was arrested in a police roadblock outside Holwick on 5th August while returning from KwaZulu-Natal, where he held brief NAC President Chief Albert Luthuli about his trip. He was charged with leaving the country without a permit and inciting workers to strike. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 years imprisonment, which he began serving at the Pretoria local prison. On 27th May 1963, he was transferred to Robben Island and returned to Pretoria on 12th June. Within a month, police raided Lily's Leaf, a secret hideout in Rivonia, Johannesburg, used by NAC and the Communist Party activists, and several of his comrades were arrested. On 9th October 1963, Mandela joined 10 others on trial for sabotage in what became known as the Rivonia Trio. While facing the death penalty, his words to the court at the end of his famous speech from the dock on 20 April 1964 became immortalized. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. On 11th June 1964, Mandela had 7 other accused were convicted and the next day were sentenced to life imprisonment. Goldberg was sent to Pretoria prison because he was white, while others went to Robben Island. Mandela's mother died in 1968 and his eldest son in 1969. He was not allowed to attend their funerals. On 31st March 1982, Mandela was transferred to Pollsmoor prison in Cape Town with Sisulu, Mhlaba, and Mlangeni. Kathrada joined them in October. When he returned to the prison in November 1985 after prostate surgery, Mandela was held alone. Justice Minister Kobi Kwetese visited him in hospital. Later, Mandela initiated talks about an illegitimate meeting between the apartheid government and the ANC. On 12 August 1988, he was taken to hospital where he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. After more than 3 months in the hospital, he was transferred on 7 December 1988 to a house at Victor Verster prison, where he spent his last 14 months of imprisonment. He was released from its gates on Sunday, 11th February 1990, 9 days after unbanning of the ANC and the PAC, and nearly 4 months after the release of his remaining Rivonia comrades. Throughout his imprisonment, he had rejected at least 3 conditional offers of release. Mandela immersed himself in official talks to end white minority rule. In 1991, was elected ANC president to replace his ailing Fred Oliver Tambo. In 1993, he and the President Clark jointly won the Nobel Peace Prize, and on 27th April 1994, he voted for the first time in his life. On 10th May 1994, he was inaugurated as South Africa's first democratically elected president. On his 80th birthday in 1988, he married Graça Machel, his third wife. True to his promise, Mandela stepped down in 1999 after 1 term as president. He continued to work with the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund he set up in 1995 and established the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Mandela Rhodes Foundation. Nelson Mandela never wavered in his devotion to democracy, equality, and learning. Despite terrible provocation, he never answered racism with racism. His life is an inspiration to all who are oppressed and deprived, and to all who are opposed to oppression and deprivation. He died in his home in Johannesburg on 5th December 2013. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to have subscribed, liked, shared, and also comment your opinion on this video. Thank you.